So what are your thoughts about this tariff?
Okay, this is actually very interesting discussions. Before that, I just want to say, like last 20th of August, I go and do debate against Nick Palveda. So that was the birthday of my wife. So happy birthday, my wife. And that day she actually said that uh, you can do whatever you want. So that's why I break the law. I go and do debate against Nick. But today my mom said always listen your wife, and my wife says do not do debate against Nick and Trump. So no comments on this tariff issues because this is very complex.
Well, we're just trying to keep it interesting for the viewership, Sharif. But you had like yesterday, just on LinkedIn alone, you had like almost 1,000 people watching it, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't know what you're doing over there in Bangladesh, but you're really pushing
i'm,
liberal.
I'm just I'm just pushing pot TV in Bangladesh.
Oh well, okay. And the thing is, the subject was climate change. Sometimes the subject matter makes a big difference as to getting viewership. So the subject matter was climate change. Yet in the past, or at least it's still doing really well, is this show here. This one gets the most views because I think it's been around the longest, and it
Yeah,
just gets the most views
just
on the
one
TV network.
one
But
interesting.
if you keep it up on World Talent Economic Forum, it'll eventually pass Pod TV's World Edition. It's just a matter of time. Rick Rosner has joined us. I don't know what his thoughts about the tariffs are. I always look at it from this real simple. It collects revenues for the U.S. government. U.S. government is broke. U.S. government needs revenue. So
Yeah,
if
but
they need,
it's not going to be paid by foreign manufacturers. It's going to
it
be
doesn't
paid
matter who
by US.
pays it as long as the U.S. government gets the money in the door.
Yeah, so
They're
but
the ones
it's a
broke.
tax on U.S. consumers,
Good.
and
Then
and
they
people.
they should be consuming so much anyway. They buy all sorts of junk.
So
You know.
if you like stuff, like I collect some stuff, from where I buy stuff at auction for 30 bucks from France, from England, and it used to, like, since COVID, shipping has tripled in price. Where if you want to get a tchotchke in England, it used to be maybe 30 bucks to get it over here. Now they might want to charge you 90 bucks. Well, it was 90 bucks to get something from England. Now you can't get it at all. More than a dozen countries, maybe it's as many as 20 countries, are not shipping to the United States at all. So if you like foreign stuff, if you like England makes really good chocolate biscuits, forget that. You're not getting those anymore. They're not shipping to the US because the tariffs have screwed everything up.
Well, but remember, it's a consumption tax. They have that here in the European Union, a
I'm just no,
consumption
but
tax.
some countries, France, Germany, Australia, 20 other countries are refusing to ship anything, any little packages to the United States.
Yeah, but what do they have that we really need or want? In other words, the thing is, the United States is so big and has so many resources. They don't really need to buy anything from any of these countries.
Okay,
They
fine,
really
but how crazy is it that you can't buy stuff from half of the world? Because
you get to buy it from the other half, and you get to buy it from the people in the U.S. I mean, that's kind of like the life going forward. It's a new normal. And why are people so interested in buying stuff anyway? They should be putting money in the
but
stock market.
it's so, like, primitive and screwed up. It's like we're going back to a previous time where there be dragons out on the ocean. You can't get stuff from other countries because it seems like going back to 150 years ago where there we used to have like a great worldwide shipping system, and COVID kicked its ass, and now our politics have shut it down for the U.S.
But if you look at that 150 years ago, when there was no income tax and there were tariffs that were pretty high, that's when the American economy expanded the greatest. It was like the 1870s to the early 1900s.
Yeah, but we
So
don't want the 1870s. Life expectancy in 1870 was 39 years old. You know,
Yeah, I'm not talking about LIHEAP's program. I'm talking about the economy. In other words, the U.S.
Well,
GDP
speaking of
growth.
the economy, hey Nick, just really quickly, apparently the billionaires are paying a lower tax rate than the rest of America's taxpayers. A new study just came out. CBS reported that and everything, and definitely it looks like the tax rate for the ultra rich has significantly gone down. So I was just wondering, since you are apparently one of these wealthy individuals, your thoughts around that, and you're probably not in the billionaire class and everything, but it does look like there's a big break for the billionaires, and I just wanted your take on this because the ultra rich have gotten a major break.
No, it's been that way. There's nothing new under the sun. And the thing is, it's the marginal rate versus the effective tax rate. People go, well, the tax rate in the United States is 37%. But do wealthy people pay that? And the answer is no. Their effective rate is around 8%. It's like Warren Buffett said, my effective tax rate is less than my secretary. Well, how could that be? Well, it's because because the secretary is paying, if you add Social Security and Medicare taxes, 15.3% plus state and federal income taxes. Warren Buffett, dividends and interest, at the most, and a lot of it is borrowing. So if he needs it for consumption, so what happens is the ultra wealthy do not pay much in taxes, and then on capital gains because of the Oz transaction. And everybody here knows what the Oz transaction is, I hope, right, Dr. Sharif? If you don't, well, you don't need to because you're not an American citizen. Neither does Sasha. But everybody here should be totally aware of Oz. We have one person on our network who specializes. It allows you to sell your unrealized capital gains at zero taxes. So if you bought a stock, let's say, or you had a stock, so Rick invested in Pod TV. And all of a sudden, I have to tell him the sad news. Your shares, Rick, are now worth $10 million. And if you sell it, you're going to have to pay capital gains taxes, ordinary income. You can pay $2 million taxes. How would you like to pay nothing? And then Rick says, sure, show me how. You invest in Oz, opportunity zones. And then if you hold for 10 years, you pay nothing.
Or you don't sell and you get a loan against the value of your shares, and you get to enjoy the use of all that money.
Or you do a combination of both. To the extent you need the money, you get a loan. To the extent you don't, you put it into opportunity zone, and after 10 years, your money's laundered tax-wise, and you pay nothing in taxes. So here, Rick made $10 million. Paid nothing.
There's a show on HBO called The Gilded Age, set in 1880s. And this is some gilded among very rich people, the Vanderbilts, and this is some Gilded Age bullshit where the very richest don't pay jack squack in taxes.
Yeah, but the thing is, this has been going on for centuries. When I was over in Hungary, I discovered that they had taxes, but the wealthy and the people that were royals were exempt from all forms of taxes, including tolls going across a bridge. So when they went across the chain bridge, this is true, they paid zero taxes, but the plebeians, they all had to pay taxes. So it's historic. In Hungary, even back several centuries ago, they didn't pay taxes. But I found one other interesting thing about Budapest, that you couldn't sell property. You had to have your kids inherit it. There was no sales that were going on. So if you owned real estate, you could never sell it. It's just the way it was back then. Well, things haven't changed very much. Right now, the estate tax, before you're even affected, you have to have 30 million. Seriously. So
let's explain that. If you die, you can pass on $30 million to your kids if you're a rich person. And pay zero tax.
Oh, I spent 17 years of my career working in that area, and I started with my grandmother's estate because the estate tax rates, once you hit the magic button, started at 55%. So you had to become very serious about doing estate planning. Today, unless you have 30 million or more, you don't need to be concerned. You're exempt from estate taxes. So if you think about it, anybody listening to this viewpoint, this show, if you have less than 30 million, you're poor. Seriously, you don't even know you're poor. Okay, if you have more than 30 million, you're rich. And if you don't know you're rich, you'll find out when you die
Because the
the
state tax stuff
is huge.
fairly recent. It's happened in the past 30 years where it used to be 1 million, then it was 5 million, then it was 6, then it was 13 million, and now you're saying it's 30 million.
Yeah,
You say,
it's
here you
30
Oh,
go.
husband and wife, it's $30 million. So in the US, you're really not considered rich unless you have more than 30 million. Now, who has more than 30 million? Well, you saw that Travis is marrying Taylor Swift. They have more than 30 million. In my previous career, my clients were the founder of Dunkin' Donuts. I knew them quite well. His name was Bill Rosenberg. He's dead now. The president of Kimberly-Clark, the president of Bausch & Lomb, the president of Philip Morris. They were all my clients until they repealed the federal estate tax completely in 2010, and I got fired. And that's the reason I'm in pensions. Oh, Jacoby's
But the estate,
subject matter expert on working with large estates, people over 30 million, I'm sure, you know. So maybe
what's
Jacoby.
going to happen is estate tax is going to, rich people aren't going to die as much. They're going to
They
start
live long,
spending
yeah.
their millions buying new organs, and I'm sure there will be tax exemptions if you.
Well, what they do is they take advantage of grits, grats, gruts, and sins. Sins are self-canceling installment notes, grantor retained annuity trust, grantor retained unitrust. And so what happens, you set up these variety of different types of trusts to mitigate their federal estate tax liability.
They just did an experiment where they
What?
grew a lung for a guy in a pig, and then the guy is brain dead, but the family agreed to let doctors do an experiment. They took a brain dead guy, they took a human lung that they had tweaked some genes to grow in a pig, and then they transferred the pig grown lung into the guy, and it worked. It worked for 9 or 10 days while they got data, and then they shut down the experiment.
Oh, well, that's really sad. They should keep it going. So this
No,
way,
the guy was brain dead. They were like, well, we need
Oh.
to, can we use your loved one's body as the site of an experiment? And so in the future, if you're rich, you will get a genetically engineered pig to grow you a new liver. It'll be $500,000 for this pig.
Yeah, it will, and Medicare will not cover it because Medicare is broke in the year 2033.
No, but Congress, you will lobby Congress. You will pay political action committees to say that 500 grand that you've spent is a tax deduction.
Maybe. You know, the thing is, we could have a whole conversation. If you did a future projection on healthcare in America, it collapses around the year 2033, 2034. There will be no healthcare unless you're really rich. Then you'll have healthcare.
If you read science fiction, the really rich will live in robotically defended gated communities. You lived in a gated community for a while, but you kind of hated it and you moved out. But
no, I live. Okay, I knew a lot about gated communities because in Boca Raton and Palm Beach County, where I live, 80% of the homes are in gated communities. Once I left my magical world of Boca, I realized that normal plebeians don't live in gated communities. I was shocked and appalled. I couldn't believe most people don't live in gated communities. People drive up to your house. Can you imagine that? Without having to go through security? Are you serious?
So in the future, if you read science fiction, the gated communities are super well defended because the plebes who are dying at age 68 are pissed at the rich mofos who are living to 140. And so...
Well, even in North Carolina, I lived in Carolina Trace. It was a gated community, but it was also kind of a fake gated community because you could actually, if you knew what you were doing, get around the guards.
Nick, just really quickly, how concerned are you or anybody on this panel about our national forests and our national parks? Because apparently a former supervisor of the most visited national forest shares concerns about the deliberate dismantling of public land. So this is a gentleman that was the former supervisor of the White River National Forest. But apparently there is this big effort to go after the forests and the museums and everything like that. As a matter of fact, Fitzwilliam says he is witnessing a deliberate dismantling of public land. So this was in an interview earlier this month in a podcast produced by some folks over there in Denver and everything like that. And he said he felt that he was forced to retire after 16 years of being a forest supervisor. So what are your thoughts? Are you worried about the Grand Canyon and some of the other national parks that may be under the control?
We'll listen to Rick and then I'll express my.
All right, so Sasha has commented, this is a lovely conversation about nothing because we're not talking about world affairs. We're talking about some science fiction-y crap. And the deal is that world affairs, like you look at the Ukraine war, there's a ton of science fiction-y crap going on there where that war, much of it is being fought with drones. So,
yeah.
And
well, I agree with you, Rick, and I would agree with Sasha that person who's talking about force has way too much time on his hands and hasn't flown over the United States or flown over Canada, which yours truly has, many, many times. If you fly over Canada, there's more forest and lakes than you can. You spend hours literally on the airplane looking at forest and lakes. So this guy really doesn't have his priorities straight, and he's a waste of time. There are more important issues, and one we just discussed, which is healthcare collapsing in 20
public
years.
land is an important issue.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, no, it's way down on the list. Why don't you talk about toenail fungus? I mean, come on.
Well, so this is some politicized bullshit where the Republicans said Joe Biden shut down like drilling, fracking in parks, federal lands. If you do the math, like that meant that you couldn't drill or frack in like 1%, 1.5% of all the land in America. That leaves 98.5% where you can go ahead and drill to your heart's content. So, then Trump says, well, I opened it up and now drill, baby, drill. Some garbage, like we're drilling less. We're pulling less oil and other fossil fuels out of the ground now than we were under frickin' Biden. And it's
the thing is that's because the U.S. has plenty of oil. They're an exporting country right now. In other words, it's just all.
Well, speaking of oil, I gotta get to Nick. I gotta get to one of your favorite countries because it is world edition, as Sasha just said, and everything along those lines. But apparently, Venezuela is deploying warships and drones after the U.S. sent guided missile destroyers to the regions. And I know that you're just a big fan of Venezuela and all along those lines. And they're saying they're going to deploy military vessels to the Caribbean and other waters to combat drugs and all along those lines. But I just know how big of a fan you are. And they're even saying that the Trump administration might be building up to a military confrontation with Venezuela. So what are your thoughts about this notion? Venezuela has also sent troops to the Colombia border as U.S. ships are joining the cartel operation. So
Toby's going to explain.
So they destroyed the country over there,
I had a question because I came in late and
you're late to the party, Toby.
I know. So this is where it's gonna get fun. So if I heard correctly, Nick, did you say that we are now exporting oil when Rick pointed out that we're drilling less and doing less under Trump than we were under Biden?
Yeah. And what's the big
are
deal?
you saying that we weren't exporting oil before?
No, the U.S. has always been an exporting country. The only problem is sometimes they get out of whack and they need more than they're.
So just to point out, you're agreeing with Rick that you're agreeing then with Rick that what Trump and the Republican Party had said was a lie, and it was just a talking point then.
No, I didn't say it was a lie. The problem is the Democrats, as usual, get.
Wait.
It's not a lie. The Democrats.
Let's review real quick.
Set themselves up to get punched in the face, as usual. So the thing is, it's not a lie. It's just the thing is they set themselves up.
Mr. Pretzel.
And then they get slapped and they go, what are these laughing?
Now, Rick points out that we're drilling less now than we were before. You're saying that we're exporting now and we were exporting before. You agree?
I'm saying this is not an issue. So why are we discussing?
Wait. Let me finish. Let me lay it out for
We
you.
discussed
Laying it out.
toenail
Laying
fungus.
it out like a sandwich. I'm putting down the bread, putting down the mayonnaise, putting down the
Oh,
lettuce.
I'm gonna go to sleep.
Here we go. So you agree that we were an exporter before. Trump and the GOP said that we weren't exporting or doing anything, that he's gonna release the hounds, but you're agreeing that what Rick said, because what Rick said is what's contradictory to what you're trying to say is not a lie. So that was just the confusing part. And then just to get back to what Mark was just talking about Maduro and that whole situation, basically what's going on, Trump and this whole idea that he wants to send armed guards and calling gangs terrorists, that really wasn't for outside the U.S.
Okay.
Let me explain. I'm laying down, putting down the meat now. I'm putting down the meat, putting that on that sandwich. So really what was going on, because Maduro, yes, there could be an armed conflict, but no, Trump is going to back down just like normal. He's Taco Trump. He's not dealing with outside the country. The point of the whole gang idea, because right now, if you pay attention, Nick, you've got the paramilitary or brown shirts that he's just created with an executive order. Then he's already been doing the whole situation where he's trying to get rid of due process. So now when he talks about gangs being terrorist organizations, what he's trying to utilize so he could send his brown shirts into these other areas, or the paramilitary that he's created into these other areas of the country, what he's trying to say is that there is terrorist action. If you listen to what Stephen Miller said just the other day, when Stephen Miller said, hey, these gangs are getting drugs from these outside organizations, which are considered other cartels and places that we've considered terrorist organizations. So now he's trying to say American gangs are working for terrorist organizations, so therefore they are terrorists. So he can now send the military, because he's calling a state of emergency, into these areas. So when he's trying to call these people gangs and all this stuff outside of the US, that isn't for that. Again, he's trying to create these brown shirt setups, or these paramilitary organizations, so he can deport anybody he wants to, because he's already fought against due process. This is the whitening of the U.S., sadly.
All right.
Let's explore his energy argument to begin with. Let's get rid of Toby right off the bat, then you can talk, Rick. It says here, now this comes from AI, which you worship the computers.
No, we don't worship it. So let me stop you off the top.
It goes
AI. Hold on, Nick.
Okay, I will repeat because I can't see.
I am a teacher in a classroom because you said that I am the one who knows technology.
Okay, all right. Here's what it says. The U.S. is the world's leading producer of oil and gas.
I can take it off of mute too.
Has been a net energy
technology works.
So
you are utilizing AI, which cannot even be utilized in the classroom. AI cannot be utilized in the classroom because it has fallacies.
It's Rick's turn, and then I got a question.
Okay. All right.
Don't use AI.
Since 2019.
It's Rick's turn.
So sad.
I believe
Okay, Rick,
US
you can take the
has
floor.
energy independence since I think the last years of Obama. Now, the deal is the reason we're drilling less oil now is because of the price of oil. It's not as expensive as it was, so the oil companies leave it in the ground waiting for a time when the oil is worth more. Trump is not the king of oil. He can't order oil companies to pull more oil out if it doesn't suit them financially. That's thing one. Thing two is Trump has called himself the president of peace. He really does have a preference for countries not being at war. And you can argue about whether he's effective or not at stopping war. But then when Trump is going to saber rattle with Venezuela for no frickin' reason, one reason is Epstein. And Trump is still a little panicky about the evidence that he diddled 14-year-olds coming out. So he's just going crazy, just throwing shit hither and thither. And that includes like threatening Venezuela and bringing like martial law to democratic cities across America.
Hey Rick, speaking of martial law, there's a new job that they have with martial law. I think Utopia will love this, and Rick will love it too, and even Sasha. But I just saw this recently that apparently these people that are supposed to be fighting crime, they are now sanitation workers because there's been an article.
The National Guard is like, if you've seen their pictures of them, they're in a park and they're picking up litter. So thank you, for President Trump, for protecting Americans from food wrappers.
Fairly, that's what we're doing because they're doing a beautification project.
And this whole, we've lowered the crime rate. If you look at the statistics, evidently they said that, they've been there, because I think they said it after 11 days that they've made 1,000 arrests. How did they make 1,000 arrests on the mall? Because they don't go into the actual crime-ridden areas.
Like the mall is like the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial. It's all the tourist places. Those are not the hotbeds of crime, but that's where he's putting the Humvees and the troops to show America. It's all freaking theater.
And then, so how is he saying that he's arrested 1,000 people in 11 days? Well, if you do actually, honestly, the math around that 1,000 people, Rick, since you're my math man, 11 days, 1,000 people.
That's
how many
90
is that per
people.
day?
That's 90 people a day.
On average, they do roughly about that in DC the past couple of months. So what exactly did Trump do? If he supposedly did 1,000, it's the same thing.
Hey,
so it's like open containers. It's like
speaking of all of that, and this is going to really get both Sasha's goat as well as Nick's and everything. But what's going on when we got a whole class of people that is about to be axed in terms of references and everything? Because apparently there's an article that just came out that says that states must axe transgender references from sex ed.
No, hold on. Sasha is saying that he's got information about U.S. tariffs against India. And
Sasha, take it away, Sasha.
Oh, really?
Seems to me that you don't want to listen to what I have to say. But I will try. I'll try. Okay, I'll have.
Joey wants to listen to what he has
a modern investing show in about a couple of hours plus, and I will discuss it there. However, what I want to mention is that Nick absolutely correctly repeated what's been in U.S. media, that here Trump got 50% tariffs on India. What a hero! What a brilliant move. What U.S. doesn't report, though, is that Modi categorically denies any Trump's involvement in bringing peace between India and Pakistan, and the US or Trump or whoever has nothing to do with that at all, period. Number two, Modi does not take any calls from Trump or any other US officials. Doesn't need. What is he doing? He is joining upcoming meetings with China and Russia, and by taking money from Pakistan, India's enemy, into Trump's children run crypto funds, he completely alienated by far the biggest democracy in the world, which is India. And India now says that Pakistan, whatever they want to do, if they will even think about attacking India, they will definitely mean severe consequences. And this time, nobody will save them. So this is a true situation, which is not reported in U.S. media. Nobody knows, nobody talks about it. But India is completely decoupling from United States doesn't take Trump's calls. Trump is collapsing on all his tariffs business. Even Europe, which agreed, okay, here's 15%. Okay, we are happy with that. But they have right during 6 months to evaluate their position on their tariffs against United States of America. We will find out in the next few months what they decided to do. Frankly, I think that even if they will not impose any sanction against U.S., see, U.S. products and services are undesirable in European Union, and it's going to be more and more around the world. But European Union for sure. What do they have to sell in European Union? Their inferior cars? Absolutely no way. Any European car, whether it's Italian made or German made or any, much better and cheaper than US car. Any European car produced, you put together against any American car, American cars are garbage and absolutely not wanted in Europe. Let's talk about food. Well, Nick, you're in Europe. You know what kind of foods are in Europe. You know that you can go to Europe just on gastronomic tour. You don't have to see all the palaces or all the museums. Just have a fabulous European food. Any country, whether it's Spain or France or even Germany or UK, doesn't matter. The food is absolutely fabulous. US has nothing to do, and US cannot send anything viable to Europe. That concerns about fashion. It's about almost anything. There is no need for American garbage in European countries, and they don't take them, and Europeans don't buy American stuff. Same thing now happening in Canada. Canada absolutely boycotts US produce anything, whatever in the stores in Canada. They don't buy anything produced in the United States. Ecuador, yes. Colombia, yes. Even Cuba, but Cuba doesn't have anything to sell. But not American. Let's see, oranges, they will buy even, I don't know, Puerto Rican, or you know what, Israeli oranges. They will buy, but not US. So bye US. All energy is now being deployed to Far East, Japan, China. Now there is a great deals coming up with Germany. US is no longer dominant economic partner of Canada. Bye US. Good luck.
I just found something.
Nick, like Bangladesh is still a very good,
it
very good
sounds
friend
like
of
we have
US.
a disgruntled Canadian talking, because that's absolutely not true. I was in Prague yesterday, or no, last week. You know what? They had American shops everywhere, even food stores, KFCs on every block. It was disgusting. Starbucks on every block. Disgusting. McDonald's, and people were eating it, and they were importing American oil, and they love Americans. So the thing is, to say that America is not doing well over in Europe is just not true. And even here, where I'm in Barcelona, I go down the street, there's a McDonald's. I go across the street, there's a Burger King. Americana is all over the bloody place here. And there's just absolutely no way around it. And they have our technology. There's Apple stores everywhere. I mean, seriously. So this whole thing, it's just a disgruntled Canadian wishing that America would not be great again. But unfortunately, that's not true. America's back, and too bad. Yeah, go on, Rick.
I just made a huge discovery here on AliExpress. AliExpress is one of these Temu type Chinese sellers who tries to sell like really cheap stuff to Americans. So here's like a massive failure of some algorithm. So just quickly, so there's a type of porn where they put the women in shirts that say, "I like to bang black guys," and so that's a genre of pornography. So AliExpress seems to have looked at that and decided that American women are wearing fashion that says, yeah, I like to bang black guys, and they are now offering dozens and dozens of underpants, t-shirts, bikinis, um, the long johns, tank tops that all say in different ways, I like to bang black guys, because they've mistaken what they've seen in porn for the general American population. AliExpress thinks that American women are on the streets wearing shirts that express their racial sexual preference, which is like a huge, crazy mistake. There are so many products.
This is very important, Rick. Thank you.
It's not, it's garbage.
No, it is very, very important for us to know that, because if we wouldn't know that, then our day would be gone by. We wouldn't have useful information. But now this is important information. Most of you know, maybe all of you know, I hope, a company by the name DHL. It's a dominant courier service around the world. Origins of these companies are in Germany, but they're operating all over the world, including US and other similar countries. So now, 2 days ago, DHL stopped all deliveries between United States and any other country around the world, vice versa, both ways. Small and middle-sized packages. This is how America is popular. This is, everybody loves America. The DHL, which operates in anywhere in Uganda and New Zealand and just name it, all countries in the world now, except United States of America. Bravo!
Okay, well, let me tell you about DHL, because they are here in Europe, and I did try to use them, but they're basically incompetent. The DHL couldn't even transport a check to the United States. So you know what they use here? They use Amazon, and we use UPS here, because DHL is a worthless organization. So if they withdrew completely from the United States, it wouldn't make a difference anyway. Amazon's the dominant player here, and so is UPS and FedEx. DHL is a worthless organization. So if they were fine, let them go back to sleep. They can even deliver a wire across the street.
Regardless,
If I had their stock, I'd sell it, but I don't have their stock. I did buy UPS.
Combined. That's how big DHL is.
I bought UPS, but I wouldn't buy DHL.
There are 28 countries.
Last week.
There are 28 countries who will no longer ship packages to the U.S. regardless of what shipper you use. And this includes England, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand refused to ship anything at all in a package, regardless of what shipping, whether you use Amazon or whatever. They just won't ship to the U.S. right now because
I was just going to point out, because you can look it up on the Pew Research polls, which, I've kind of found, this was kind of interesting. This is your thing, Rick. You'd actually like this. If you look up the Pew Research polls in terms of how the globe views the U.S., currently across high-income countries, views of U.S. and China are far more similar than in recent years. They're sitting at 35 for the U.S., 32 for China. So in terms of making China great again, that's what Trump is doing. For example, how people in 24 countries view Trump and Xi. So right now, across the countries, people kind of view, across 10 high-income countries, confidence in the U.S. president is now on par with confidence in President Xi, where 24 for Xi, 22 for Trump. So it fell off the wagon once we came up under Trump in terms of confidence in the U.S. across the globe. There are other things that we can look at, other pollings and so on and so forth. But yes, the globe honestly is doesn't have confidence in Trump. The U.S. has lost more confidence across the globe. It's ruined its relationship with its major allies, like Canada, for example. There's less tourism coming from Canada than there has been in decades. So we've lost 12 point some odd billion already, or was it 8 billion already, going up to even more, 30 some odd billion is projected, or whatever billions are projected. So yeah, I mean,
well, here's news you can use off of that. You should probably look around for Vegas deals if you're an American, because foreign tourism to Vegas is down at least 11%. That's as of 2 months ago. It's got to be even worse now. Vegas is freaking dead. And when Vegas gets dead, they offer really good deals. I bet you can go to Circus, which is the crappiest hotel on the strip. You can always get a room there for $50. But I bet you can get a room at the Bellagio, the nicest hotel on the strip, probably for less than $200. I bet you there are great buffet deals. I think you go to Vegas.
And then if you want to add on top of that, how people want to rant and rave. Well, people like Nick want to rant and rave and say, well, Trump has done such a great job at the border. Well, we've just pointed out how poorly it's shown across the globe and how people are no longer coming here. So tourism has dropped a mighty percentage. I think it was 12% actually a couple of months ago. It's probably even more than that now. But then on top of that, if you take it what he's done in DC, you have restaurants that are struggling because of what he's done in DC. It's the same thing. This whole administration is trash, and I just don't understand.
Right, so we're in the midair thing. When the coyote chases in the cartoon the roadrunner off a cliff, and the coyote's running in midair until he looks down and realizes he's standing on nothing, and then he goes boom. We're in the midair deal right now with inflation, with jobs. Like the statistics aren't bad right now because we haven't realized that the shit's hitting the fan. In 2 months, when the effects of tariffs start to hit more fully, we're going badang into 3% inflation, into 4.5% unemployment. Well, we may not find that out because Trump may fire everybody in charge of the statistics, but
yeah,
he's only got a minute to go and everything.
Okay.
Let me rebut.
Really quickly.
Well, okay, Nick wants to tell me
I want to rebut their false statements. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Canada versus the United States. And they're not coming here. We don't want the Canadians anyway. Let's look at the GDP per capita in 2025. U.S., 85,182 a person. Canada, 54,473.
Nick, stop. You're saying
they're not coming here
now.
Nick,
can you tell me a better indicator? How much? Now, Nick, I'm trying to help you.
And now the only way you can
stated
stop
wasn't
the
even
fact
relevant
We're
to
talking over each other. Come on, let somebody get some words out.
You're not adding anything relevant to the conversation. What is the amount of money that Canadians?
GDP US 2.8.
What is the amount of money that the Canadians bring in tourist dollars?
Not even close.
What is the amount of money that the Canadians bring in tourist dollars? That's what we're talking about. You brought in something that isn't even relevant. The amount of people that are connected to that didn't even qualify as answering the question or even rebutting what Rick or I said. Natasha said. How much money
Canadians are trying?
Do Canadians bring in tourist dollars?
20 billion, 20.5 billion.
That is an answer.
Not even close. Not even worth talking.
With a decline of 20 to 33% for this year. So our fucking with Canada is going to cost $6 billion in lost Canadian tourism,
which is like 30 cents per American. It's not worth talking about.
You just complained about the national debt, and then you're saying that $30
billion per American. Who cares? Who cares about the Canadians?
And then we're going to get on out of here and everything like that. Rick was right. A lot of these resorts in Vegas are running various promotions. I'm seeing Resorts World Las Vegas is running a promotion through September 10th, waiving resort fees for guests at any of its 3 properties, Hilton, Conrad, and Crockford's, and that includes up to 40% off room rates and as much as a $75 resort credit that can be used for food, drinks, and pool cabanas. So that's just one of them. Safari Las Vegas is also getting into it. It's an all-in promotion. Select dates through January 4th, 2026 to let you book a room from $59 a night, and resort fees are waived. That's right there. That saves you $54.95 per night and everything. And definitely Circa Resort and Casinos on Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas has its own all-in-one deal running through September 4th. A 2-night stay costs $400, including fees and taxes, and $100 dining credit at any Circa restaurant, including the popular Barry's Downtown Prime Steakhouse, and $100 drink credit at an on-site bar. So that's just some of them, but there are all these various deals.
Yourself, take your girlfriend, be a big shot, be a high roller for half of what it usually costs.
Yeah. Says in early October, you can also fly Frontier out to San Francisco International, out of San Francisco International Airport to Las Vegas for just $101. So yeah, you can be a big shot. There are also flights from Dallas Fort Worth International to Vegas in fall for under $100 round trip. So yeah, you can be a big shot now on these Vegas trips and everything for less than probably about $500.
Mark, you can possibly walk from San Francisco to Las Vegas, and it's not going to cost you anything.
Right.
Why didn't you mention that option?
Well, that's an option too. But you got to be in shape, and not everybody's in shape. So they got to maybe go to the gym and get in shape in order to make that walk.
You could Reno might be closer to San Francisco. I
For
bet
sure.
you they have deals going to Reno too.
Definitely. And on that note, we're getting ready to get out of here. I know we got Modern Investment at 1 o'clock. Sasha and Milan, and hopefully Eda will be joining him as well. And we'll see that at 1 o'clock. So right now we're out of here, and at 1 o'clock we'll have Modern Investment.